Welcome everybody to the webinar on e-signatures and verifications, how to keep your business safe. And I have with me Rebecca from Criipto. She will soon introduce herself and the company. My name is Oskar Helland. I'm the CEO and one of the founders of Sharefox. So with that small introduction, I would like to kick us off and just look at a little bit the agenda. Why are we talking about this, and what are ID verifications and digital contracts? We will look very practically when to use it in rentals. We will give you some checklists and so on, how it works and how we have implemented it within Sharefox together with our partner Criipto, and then a Q&A session towards the end. And just very quickly, Sharefox was launched in 2019. We are headquartered in Oslo, and we have now delivered more than 450 rental-based services, mostly in the Nordics, but we have it on, we like to say it, on 4 continents. We have delivered our services worldwide. We enable businesses, and the only thing we are doing is working on rental-based services and businesses and help you guys digitalize your rental operations and make you more efficient. We have Criipto with us here with Rebecca. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Yeah, so just very quickly about Criipto. So it's a Nordic-based, Copenhagen-based actually, eID hub. So it's enables secure authentication and of course e-signatures, both of which we'll be talking about today. But basically it's just connecting businesses with national eIDs such as BankID in Norway, and it's all done through one simple integration which you all will have access to if you do so wish.
And we will come back to it. It's not also for Denmark, it will be the equivalent of MitID and so on, and in Sweden and so on. So why do we talk about ID verifications and digital contracts now? There's been an increasing trend, and there is an increasing trend that rental businesses, moving from a more manual handover process, going away from papers and over to more digital solution to increase efficiency. That's all well and very good, but you need to balance the aspect of customer convenience, but also your operational security. So we will go through some best practices for you to decide when you would like to require ID verifications, when you can rely on just checkbox acceptances of terms, or when you would like, or you would additionally like to add the use of digital contracts to increase your security and protect your business more from fraud or damages, unpaid invoices or similar. But regardless of that, I think we all would like to make renting and rental-based services as easy as possible, both for the customer but also for you. With that, I hand a little bit over to you, Rebecca.
Great. Yeah, so I think it's good just to start off to get kind of a basis understanding of what eIDs are. And I'm sure you're all familiar with them, but an eID is kind of like a digital proof of identity. And importantly, it's issued by something called a trusted provider or trusted authority. And it's been developed to help both yourself and your business, but also your customers. Now, there's certain frameworks that are kind of set in place to ensure that there is a measure of trust. Within the EU, this is called level of assurance. Now, it's not super important that you kind of do a deep dive into what this is, but good to just have a basic understanding that low, according to the EU and the EIDAS framework, is kind of the most minimal identity verification. So example of this is kind of self-registration, which is a username and password. Substantial is kind of a step up from that. Now, this is what you're used to when using EIDs. For example, MitID in Denmark or Swedish BankID. This requires kind of multiple factors of authentication. And then, of course, you've got the highest level of assurance, which is things like Norwegian BankID, where you have to go face-to-face and show kind of your passport in order to be issued such an EID. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about kind of how this looks like in the flow of a user. So I'm sure you're quite familiar with this login, but let's take the example of using BankID. So what a user, the end user, does is that they click on the login button. They're then taken to, maybe it's the BankID app, or maybe you use kind of a kodebøker. You then have to verify that you are actually the person who is doing this action. And after that has been done, the merchant, so Sharefox or your business, would then receive all the information from the user. So it's kind of the name, perhaps the date of birth. And then from that, the user is then logged in to their account, or a new account is created. Now, why should you really care about this? I think it's super important, mainly because you get a verified identity. In cases of kind of rental, I'm sure you're aware that it's good to know exactly who is accessing your services or who's renting out your things. And with this, you get a very strong security. All the EIDs have kind of modern anti-fraud systems in place, and this is to protect both the users and to protect your business. And of course, it requires kind of multiple factors of authentication in order to be able to prove that you are indeed accessing the services. All in all, this is all well and done, but of course, we care a lot about the user experience. We want to make sure that your users are having the best experience. It's kind of like a seamless way to enter your business or your platform. And with this, of course, you don't have to think about all the passwords or the clunky logins. And what's really great is that millions of users already have an EID. In Norway, there's 4.7 million users that use BankID. It's the same with MitID in Denmark or Swedish BankID. Of course, you've also got others EIDs coming all around Europe, like FTN, which is the Finnish Trust Network, and also in other places like the Netherlands and Belgium. So this is completely free to add in case you would want more EIDs in your platform. So that's kind of EIDs as a basis. So just looking at what actually digital contracts are, and specifically what digital signatures are. So digital signature is a very specific technology-based e-signature, so an electronic signature, and it uses a form of encryption to really provide that good security and authenticity. In this case, the EU also has different levels of digital signatures. You've got simple, which could be completely fine to use in a lot of cases. Say you're just renting something or leasing something which is very low value and you don't really need to have that additional security behind it. A simple electronic signature, which could just be a scribble sign, could be completely fine. But there will be instances, which I'm sure Oscar will speak about a little bit later, where you do perhaps require a more advanced or more qualified signature. And this is where the EID is kind of attached to that signature. So you have full security of who has signed it, when they've signed it, and that's all kind of within that digital contract. Again, the customer journey is very simple. So the merchant or yourself will send that document that you require the signee to sign. They'll receive a notification, or an email, which is requiring them to sign the document. They'll authenticate themselves, so prove that it is indeed I who is accessing these documents, and then confirm they are signing it. And then all the technicality behind where we seal the document, apply timestamps, and also apply the signature. And in the end, you receive that full contract with the digital signature applied to it. Talking about the value proposition behind this as well. Obviously, the first one, it's very fast and efficient. You don't have to think about kind of the old manual ways of doing things and where you had to print something out, potentially had to handwrite a signature, scan it again, mail it over. It's all done with a click, and it's all done digitally as well. And you do get that additional security on top of it. What I think is really nice as well is that most users are kind of familiar with the process, and they also feel a sense of security that, okay, this is actually a legit contract. I am aware of what I'm signing, and therefore I feel more secure with this method of doing it. And then, of course, we speak a lot about something called integrity and traceability. The traceability is, of course, important in the sense that you know, again, exactly who signed it, when they've signed it, and can see that they have agreed to those terms. And then lastly, I think it's important to mention as well that if you do use kind of the higher step ups, so the advanced and the qualified, these are actually, you know, within EU standards, and the qualified signature is completely the same as a handwritten signature, so holds that same legal validity, which is good to know for you as a business as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. Let's look a little bit on how we can put all of this together into a customer journey. And we will look into those 4 points here, which are different measure of security. Some are related to EID, but we also have some other measures we can do in the customer journey. First out, it's the verified customer registration, as we have talked about. And of course, it's related to ensuring that the person that is renting it is exactly who they are used to say they are, and so on. So it will prevent you from fraud or unauthorized use and loss of assets. So when would you think about this or try to implement it? First of all, high value or high risk type of equipment, machinery, vehicles, similar. It could be situations where there's no physical handover, typically in self-service solutions where you don't see the person. Also, if the customer is new or you're in a segment where there's a lot of first-time renters, so they don't have a rental history, it's very good to know who they are. Also, if rentals are typically paid by invoice or after use upon return, we think it's a very good idea to identify the user. Or if the customer is a private individual compared to a business, which typically are more trackable and you know more, you have more, let's say, control over how you can follow them up. So that's a couple of bullets there on when you should be considering ID verifications in rental. We also have a simple measure which is called a checkbox, especially when you're doing an online booking. If you're familiar with, if you're using Sharefox as a tool, you will know that you need to have a checkbox before you're placing an order. And it's a mandatory requirement in order to do an online booking and payment in particular. So that is totally fine. And then this is best use when the equipment is low to medium value. The rental is typically just standard conditions. The customer pays upfront online payments. If it's fully online and self-service as well, you should be having a checkbox to do that. And you want to encourage a fast conversion. Sometimes you can think about, is a checkbox enough? And a little bit we can look upon when to use the digital contracts. But a checkbox in general will put all your terms and conditions on the screen, and you just click that you have read them, so the user has read them. And it's a method that creates very little friction and is appropriate for most everyday volume rentals. And it doesn't slow down the booking platform, booking flow for the customer. After that, you could add on a prepayment. and a card save deposit function. So if you're using prepayment and card saved, that you should be thinking about if it's new or unknown customers, especially private individuals. If it's lower to medium value rentals with standard terms, prepayment is very good. Short rental periods, self-service pickups or unintended delivery, that's also prepayment, obvious choice. If issuing all these invoices, if it takes you a lot of time, you could consider switching maybe parts of your customer base, maybe the private customers or all, over from an invoice to a prepayment. It will ensure you that you reduce the risk of no-shows or fraud or basically getting paid for your services. And in addition, if you're doing that, you can apply an extra charge afterwards because you have control and have saved the card then the first time. So you're balancing lower financial risk with a smooth booking experience. So in addition to that, in addition to the verified customers, the checkbox, which is simple order confirmation and understanding what they are booking, and the prepayment, you can consider adding digital contracts. So it's a more formal and provides a stronger legal protection for the business. And it's very well suited for situations where liability, legal, or financial exposure for your business is higher. So that means, for example, if it's high value equipment is rented, if the rental duration is more long-term, and it can be either of those situations. Conditions fall outside your standard flow. I mean, you can have insurance kind of claims that make sure that you have a signed document to process afterwards. Also, if the customer is paying by invoice or credit terms, then a contract can be really good to follow up on. Or in a lot of situations, you need, for example, explicit acknowledgement of responsibility. It means if you're a driver, and in the example of using a car, you would like to make sure that they have signed on the vehicle they have rented, and making sure that they understand that if there are speeding tickets or anything or damages and stuff like that, that they are truly responsible for that through a digital contract signature. So it creates a stronger legal foundation than only using the checkboxes, increases commitment, but of course it's an extra step and introduces a little bit more friction in the process, but it is safer for you before you can do the rental stores. So here are 4 safety measures that you can build into your flow, and they can be used all of them. You can use some of them depending on which business you are or which type of characteristics you have. So when we work together with our partner Criipto, let's look a little bit how we use it together and how it's being used. So first of all, with Sharefox, when the customer registers, and you see the register button here, you can enable then BankID as the only form of registration. It means that Sharefox will receive a verified name, and that verified name is used to create the user. So the customer can only then place the order after he has verified himself. So that is a very simple process. It shows up if you're a new customer, register now, click the button. It says BankID. It works exactly the same if it's Swedish or MitID. You just click the button and then you will follow the instructions on your phone afterwards, as Rebecca showed. If we flip next to the e-signature flow for contracts that also Rebecca showed, was that in Sharefox, you can send an e-signature request either manually or automatically, and it gives you the order, what they have ordered, and it attaches all your terms and conditions. and this is then sent via the SMS or email as here, and then you click on the link, you're getting into the contract, and you can then approve and sign it on, for example, your phone. And in the Sharefox admin system, you can see there on the bottom right side here that the signature email for e-sign request sent successfully after it's booked. The customer has opened the signature link and completed the contract. Now is a contract as signed by the customer, and it's stored there, and you can download it, and it's also sent a copy to the merchant for later. So keeps fully track and tags the order so you can see the signature status at any given time. So to sum up a little bit before we open up for if there's any questions on it, digital contracts and ID verifications, and feel free to fill me out here afterwards, Rebecca. They are now obviously a standard in many industries, especially, and then bookings for rental products, or it can be properties and stuff like that, and high value or legal liability. It definitely increases customer awareness and handling during the rental process. They know that they're signing off on something, and it protects the customer as well as you with any misunderstandings regarding booking and the responsibilities. And if important to you, if there's any insurance claims afterwards, you have more complete order documentation that the insurance companies will approve. There's no questions on that. So you have better legal protection. And of course, as Rebecca was pointing at, it reduces paper clutter. I mean, a lot of this. Anything you would like to add here, Rebecca, compared to, your experience?
No, I think that's perfect. I mean, I always kind of highlight as well, just the nice user experience as well. Normally using eIDs is something that the user is super familiar with. So I think it's very nice also just to point that out, that the whole user experience is also all in place and it feels familiar for the user as well. So it feels safe for them.
Wonderful. So that is the first part of the webinar, what we have planned to share with you and show you today. But now we will hang around a little bit and open for if there's any questions from you. Just to wave and we will be around. Red,
Hi, Rebecca. I'm part of Sharefox, and as we operate both in Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, I'm not sure. Do you see any differences on use of BankID MitID in are there any culture or is it across the different countries?
I think we're quite lucky with the Nordics that everyone's pretty digitally fluent, so it's definitely used across the board. I mean, in Norway, for one at least, we've had this around for over 20 years now, so everyone's pretty well versed in how to use it. And definitely find the same with Swedish BankID. I know they use it even more just in the stores and everything, and MitID as well. I mean, the only kind of difference between the two is just there's different kind of levels of assurance, but I would say most users very familiar with it, use it on a day-to-day basis, same as in Norway.
Good. I have a question for you, Rebecca. You talked about the user experience here. Do you have any insights to kind of how easy it is for users to go through and sign this? Any insights on that part? Because I guess that must be a really important point for BankID and the company to make that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big focus for us in kind of BankID as well. I think if you think about the contract signing specifically, a lot of effort has been put into that to make sure it's as kind of clear throughout the process, and that the user that is signing the document has a lot of trust to it. And so that's kind of the two parts that we are most focused on. We want to ensure that they know exactly what's happening, they've got trust to it, but then also make it as easy as possible for them. So it's the same as logging in. You kind of click a button, you know what you're clicking, and it says sign. So it's not more than like one step more than when you're authenticating or logging in.
And just a follow-up question there. I mean, if you're in a business that would get a lot of tourists or anything like that, you still can use digital contracts, but then using the drawable version. Isn't that?
Yes. So you could always kind of fall back to the scribble version. What's good to know just about the space in general is that more and more countries are getting EIDs, and Criipto will of course get those EIDs as well. So as kind of the rest of Europe catches up, more EIDs will be available to be used to sign within Sharefox as well. It's an evolving space.
Yeah, and it goes fast.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Any other questions? If not, thank you so much. We try to keep these webinars informative, short and sweet. And thank you so much for your participation, and wish you all a great day.